Yo, JD here, and as you can see, we are back on F1 24. And as you can see by the title of today's video, we're actually going to be looking at something that has made a bit of storm within the community, and that is that the cars are no longer equal since the update, or it could have even been before this update. Leagues such as PSGL, arguably the biggest one, are not going to be starting their season actually right now because of this unequal cars dilemma that's been going on. And also, if you take a look at this screenshot, I know it's a little bit blurry, I'll try and zoom in, but apparently if you actually go into the game files, the gear ratios between two different equal cars or multiple equal cars are actually different values. So in the past, don't get me wrong, I've been playing the F1 games for many years now. I think we've never really truly had equal cars because the actually handling, the physics is based off one car, whether that's a Mercedes, Red Bull, and normally due to the different wheelbase lengths, so short wheelbase, long wheelbase lengths, the physics kind of develop a bit differently between different cars because they're not actually the same dimension. So some cars are sometimes a little bit better over the curbs, sometimes better handling, better turning, more stable. So that's nothing particularly new, but apparently with this that has been leaked within the game files, it's actually performance related. So yeah, let me know what you think, and of course if anyone has been testing this themselves, please comment down below. What are your thoughts in terms of the equal cars? Do you find there's any cars in particular? Because it seems apparent that it's actually the Alpine is the fastest car when it comes to time trial and when esport drivers have been actually testing it. And for me personally, this is just kind of my findings in this video. Doesn't mean it's accurate, doesn't mean it's a complete fact. I'm really just going to be going based off my feeling here. I've actually been using the Red Bull. Normally it's the car I actually use in time trial, but I have found in recent time trials that I've never gone fastest in this car. I always find it's a little bit on edge. You can see these are my first few laps of Austria here. I find it's very loose and it's quite easy to lose the car. As you can see here again, I don't know if this is placebo, I don't know if it's just me, but I was doing this round Jeddah the other day and I did about 15 laps in the Red Bull. I then changed to the McLaren and the Mercedes, and it just instantly felt a lot easier to drive, a lot more stable. And again, this is something that has been apparent in many F1 games now. There have been cars that, whether you want to call it placebo or whatnot, you just prefer to drive. And yeah, I don't know if it's because of this wheelbase dimension thing, but on this game, as you saw from the screenshot at the start of this video, the actual gear ratios are slightly different between different cars, and gear ratios can have effect on the handling and performance, albeit they aren't massively different. But especially when you're looking at F1 esport drivers, having half a tenth's difference can sometimes be the difference between you being first and you being out in Q1 when you're doing a qualifying. So that's why it's so important that we do actually have equal cars. So I believe this is my best lap that I did in the Red Bull. I managed to get down to a 3.4 pretty quickly, which wasn't too bad. I think a lot of times on the leaderboards are glitched and kind of don't know what's been going on. I think it's like a high 2 is like a pretty good time, or pretty close to the world record. So yeah, I did about 13 laps here, 13 completed laps, so a good amount of time. And you can see this lap is, yeah, not too bad, hooking this up like pretty nicely. But you can see again, just I find the traction just a little bit harder to handle in this car. The car just wants to kind of get away from me all the time when I'm driving this Red Bull. Just very snappy is the way I would actually be describing it. But you can see we're just a little bit up here. You can throw the car into these corners. The grip is absolutely insane. So this is actually a post-patch with the updated handling as well. And coming across the line, this is going to be a 3.3, which I was actually fairly happy with. I know there was a little bit more time, but for 13 laps, I was quite happy with that. Now I've actually switched to the Alpine, which a lot of people say is the fastest car, and this is my very first attempt in this car. You can see it's still on 13 laps, And hand on heart, I literally just switched to this car, running exactly the same setup as well, changing the brake bias in the same way. And you can really see we gained quite a lot of time at the start finish line. And go for this turn one, immediately gaining time. And I really don't know what to think of that. Maybe I just got a good corner, but this is my very first attempt in this car. But if you see, coming off the exit of this corner, going a little bit deep here, but you can see the acceleration again. And not even just talking about the acceleration, but it just feels so much more stable. I don't know what it is, but way more stable. So we've actually gone in deep here, running out wide, and yeah, we have lost the car. But that was very, very interesting from the get-go. And you can see it getting across the line, just gaining time immediately. This time, don't get a good turn one, so not particularly great, but still barely down. And let's see again, coming off this turn 2 or turn 3, whichever one you want to call it, the acceleration. So coming into here, this is only my second attempt with this car going to here, and yeah, if you look at this acceleration, the traction is just much more planted, much more stable for me, particularly over the curbs as well. Let's see what we do on the exit of this corner. And you can see again, look at the time we gained almost 0.3 of a tenth going through into there, coming in this corner, and you can see again gaining time, so half a tenth up. And going through here, it's almost completely flat out, but half a tenth up on our first full attempt in this car. So I've never driven this car before this point. And coming to here, doing that quite nicely. And then going for the last corner, missing the inside of the apex, running out wide. But despite missing that inside apex, that would have been an improvement. So first time improving. You can see upon my face there. Don't really know what to make of that. And again, don't have to take this as a fact or anything at all. It could be completely placebo, but it just felt to me a lot easier to drive, and it was the acceleration and just how it was over curbs, and it just felt much easier to get a lap time. So this is actually my second or third completed lap, just kissing that curb a little bit too much. I lost the car. It's very easy to do in this game when you do that, but this is actually my fastest lap. So you can see we've already improved from the 3.3. We're about to improve again. This is a 3.2, a very low 0.2. This is actually my fastest lap that I did, and not even hooking the inside there. So that's not really a particularly optimal line, but still managing to get a great exit. Really good momentum going through into there. And they're coming into the top of this hill, just at the 100-meter board, and yeah, lost the car. But the traction's just so good. I don't know what it is, and I don't know if that's because of that gear ratio, those slight differences. I don't know if actually making a difference. 100-meter board again, and yeah, not too bad, but you can see we're almost 1.5 tenths up from the lap I did before. So I did a very high 0.3 in the Red Bull, and this car here is just not as snappy, much easier to drive. And you can tell me, I really want other people to test this. Please let me know what your experiences are. Coming into here, doing that pretty nicely this time. Do we hit the inside this time? Yes, this time we do hit the inside, but we actually lost quite a bit of time in those last two corners. We're over a tenth up, and it's a 3-1. So you can see there's actually a lot more potential in this as well. So I actually decided to test the straight line speed, just in case there are any differences with this at all. And if the gear ratios are the cause of this, or the wheelbase of the cars, let's see if there is a difference. So I'm not going to be using the DRS here, and I did actually pause it and do some screenshots. So I'll tell you what my findings were. And going into here, we're going to be reaching a speed of 315 kilometers per hour. I'm trying not to move the wheel at all. And yeah, so that's what we got in the Red Bull. When we go into the Alpine now, let's see what the result actually is. And I paused it on 3 different points going down the straight, and they actually matched the Red Bull, so there wasn't actually any difference between the speeds or anything at all. They both hit 315 kilometers per hour. They both hit them at the same time. So straight line speed isn't really any different, but I decided to go on Silverstone, obviously a track I do know quite well, and let's see what we could do. So I only did about 4 or 5 laps in each car here, and very similar kind of feeling again. Just the Red Bull just feels a little bit more lethargic. Also feels like you can lose the car a lot easier as well. And this lap I felt like wasn't really too bad whatsoever. So coming into here, 50-meter board, and hooking that up like fairly nicely, running exactly the same setup in both tests here. And again, this is not conclusive if one car is actually faster than the other. I think it really needs a very, very technical analysis, actually looking at the game files, but we are on PlayStation here, so we can't do that. And going through into here, doing that quite nicely. And the grip we have through Magnus and Beckett's in this game is just absolutely ludicrous. You can see completely flat out for the first 3 parts, hooking that quite nicely. So this lap so far, after only doing 4 completed laps, the world record is a very high 24. We're running a PlayStation setup, so not an esports setup or anything at all. And yeah, I felt pretty satisfied with this lap here, just before the 100-meter board. Hooking this up, going to here, changing the brake bias a little bit, getting a really nice exit, and coming across the line, it's going to be a 25.6, which almost a 0.5. So I was actually pretty satisfied with that. So this is my very first lap with the Alpine. You can see personal best is still with the Red Bull, so this is actually my very, very first lap that I've done with the Alpine. And very similar again, like we had at Austria, immediately just going a lot faster over the start-finish line. And coming into this corner, you actually locked the rears a little bit there, so just a little bit too much in the trail braking. So we're actually quite a bit down, almost 2 tenths down. But you can see again that acceleration. So I don't know if it's because I just swung up wide and got a really good exit, but that acceleration really good. So we're almost 0.8 of a tenth down, 800ths down going to here. And you can just see again, so that wasn't particularly optimal, but you can really, really mash the power. And we've almost made up all that time just in 2 corners. So again, that just shows you, it just feels like there's so much more potential driving this car. Going through into here, look again, the delta just gaining time over this, and with the gear ratios that could give you better rotation going on the on throttle, make the car more stable going into corners. And yeah, missing this a little bit, but you can see again I actually missed the apex, but we're still barely down. And again, this is my first attempt that I'm using with the Alpine coming into the end of the hangar straight. You see again, just I feel like I could just throw this car in so much more. It's got a lot more rotation when you're going on the throttle, actually going in deep here, coming through into Sash chicane and going towards the line almost within a tenth. So that's a 25.7 on the very first attempt. But this is actually now my fastest lap. You can see we've already improved. So within 2 laps, I already beat my time that I did with the Red Bull. When normally you'd want a little bit of time to actually get used to another car. So going into here now, you can see again, really throwing the car into here, but I just have a lot more confidence. Just feels like I have a lot more rotation with the same setup, and you can see the traction, really good traction coming out for the exit of this corner, going down into the first sector. Let's see how much time we can actually make up here. So purple first sector, hooking that up pretty nicely. And if you watch the throttle, look how much you can get on the throttle. So almost full throttle before we've even started to unwind the wheel. And you can see again, a lot of time that we have just made up there. Going through into Cops, this is a completely flat out corner and lost a little bit of time. We hit the curb a little bit too much. You have to be very careful with the curbs on this game. Maggers and Beckett's completely flat out through here, flat out through the left as well. And do we hit this one? Yes we do, but look at the speed that we're carrying through there. It's absolutely insane. And again, I felt like there was probably more mistakes in this lap than I did on the Red Bull lap. Coming at the end of hangar straight, again just having so much more confidence, throwing the car into there, changing that brake bias, and let's see if we can get a good exit. So hooking this curb up really, really nicely. Really need to mash the throttle, keep it nice and tight to line. See, making up time again, and that is a 25.582. So that was kind of my little test again. I think there needs to be a much, much deeper dive into this, but I think eSport drivers have been testing this, and obviously they have seen enough where they actually can't start the PSGL season because they really do feel it's going to make a difference. And again, at a normal level, it's not going to matter too much, but when it comes to F1 esports, the very top 1% or top 0.1% of drivers, half a tenth's difference could mean the difference between being last and being first. So let me know what you think of this equal car controversy at the moment Thank you so much. Make sure to subscribe for more F1 24 content. Become a YouTube member to get access to my setups and discounts and one-to-one coaching with me. And I'll be catching you very, very soon. Peace.